Hey everyone, a warm welcome once again to Sebring International Raceway. A beautiful day here as it's been for the last couple of days here in sunny Florida. I'm glad to say, and for those of you tuning in around the United States and around the world, we've had some pretty inclement weather, certainly in the United States, but I'm glad to say here in Florida, it's absolutely gorgeous. A great crowd here, and we're getting ready for our second day of SVRA, Trans Am, and all part, of course, of the Speed Tour. And talking of speed, the man who is up to speed on all things SVRA is my friend Ben Sissel. And Ben, I know you love looking at these cars. I bet you wish you were out there right now, but we could do it from afar.
Yeah, I love it. Right there, that's Robert Bowden in our only Group 2 car here at the Sebring Speed Tour. But if you are not here in person, watching this live stream is the second best way to get a hold of this. That's Rob Banks right there, the number 21. He had a great race, actually, with John Nash. Going into turn 3, they would go back and forth. John Nash has a little bit better brakes. Rob Banks has the speed. That's John Nash right there in this Lotus 7. But isn't it so great, Jonathan, to be back at racing?
Yeah, you know, if I look back a year pre-COVID, if you like, we were here at Sebring, you know, in February last year, but then it all sort of closed down. We had 4 months off and then came back at Mid-Ohio. But yes, it's great to be back in 2021, and I really do have a good feeling about 2021 in terms of the racing for both SVRA and Trans Am. Your field in SVRA is up, and so too, likewise, is Trans Am.
Yeah, Sebring International Raceway, probably the most historic road racing track in America. They've been operating since the early 50s. The 12 hours of Sebrings. A lot of the cars you're going to see here with SVRA either were the exact cars that competed in the 12 hours of Sebring back in the day, or cars similar to, like we just saw Vic Skirmance in that 356. Lots of 356s here. Obviously old Corvettes, lots of old Corvettes, Camaros and Mustangs raced here, but then a lot of the little British marquee cars as well.
Yeah, and as you know, the 12 hours is what Sebring's famous for, the first one being in 1952. And our combination of cars here today, which is effectively the history of motor racing with SVRA and, of course, with Trans Am, because it started in 1966. And so many of the cars have raced here, both of the 12 hours over the years, and certainly the history of great racing here from Sebring over the years has involved so many of these marks. And if we look down onto the famous Sunset Bend, the last corner here at Sebring, and there's been many a race won and lost. We had one yesterday, exactly that, coming through Sunset, because it's at the end of that long Almond Strait, so you do get a really good chance to dive up the inside, but it's risky, it's bumpy here, it's part of an old Air Force base, of course, back in World War II, and just like Silverstone back in 1950, they decided to turn the Air Force base using those runways to good use. And the original idea from Alec Ullman was to effectively create a mini Le Mans. He wanted to have long straights, and that's what he got, but he also wanted some good technical sections, and that's what he got. And even though there's not a great deal of undulation, the drivers love racing here.
They do. Last night at Sunset, I actually got to go around in a golf cart with 3 of our best drivers, David Bearden, Larry Ligas, and Dennis Altoff. This is the first time David Bearden has been at Sebring. So Larry and Dennis were showing them the tricks because they are old hands here. But I tell you what, going down that back straight, I think it took us 4 minutes just in the back straight.
So
2 Trans Am laps.
Did you set the golf cart that record?
No, but it took us 4 minutes in the golf cart just to go down the back straight at full power. So that's, it really felt like a long time. But I learned a lot about the track, so thank you to our drivers for letting me tag along and go out there and learn as much as I can. The big challenge with Sebring is there's like 3 different surfaces. So on this front straight that we're looking at right now is like airport tarmac. And according to RC, who is our race control, who works here at Sebring, it's like 18 inches thick of concrete. And that can kind of shift around a little bit. Then it goes from there at the exit of turn 1 to asphalt. And then there's this weird like mix of like concrete, coral, asphalt, and some of the other places. So the grip changes maybe 14 or 15 different times in one lap around the track. There's Duke Waldrop, our other Group 2 racer. So happy to have Duke here from Texas. He didn't get to run yesterday, but Duke and his wife Faye are, it's it's actually odd to not see them at an SVRA event.
Now, we had a race here yesterday, their first. This is their second feature race of the weekend. Travis Engen, Randall Green, Robert Bowden, and Rob Banks were the men to talk about in that first race.
Yeah, they were. And don't count out there that Lotus 7 right behind Rob Banks and that yellow Royale RP, because that's a really fast Lotus. John is very skilled driver, and he doesn't mind getting in there and kind of dive bombing the corners as long as he thinks that the driver in front of him sees him in his mirrors.
A couple of names I want to point out, Stephen Davison and Ford Haycock, both with different reasons to be famous here.
Yeah, Stephen Davison actually isn't going to be in this race, unfortunately. He had terminal, he's not going to be out. I don't know what happened, but terminal engine problems in that Jaguar. But Ford Haycock, his family has a long history in Sebring. Ford Haycock II, I think, is one of the founders of Sebring International Raceway. Ford Haycock III is the founder of SVRA, and he's in that beautiful number 6356 out here. So all kinds of history on track today.
Well, the drone giving us a fantastic look down on the Fangio straight coming into turn 10. You really get a chance to see how these corners work out, and I really do appreciate now what drone coverage has given us, because you can actually see the corners themselves rather than just talk about the names and talk about what they do. You can see it for yourself, how tight they turn in on themselves. Like this simple left-right here. Doesn't look much, but I can imagine that right, as you come through here, you're flat out, and then it tightens right up again into 13, and that's an important corner, tower corner at 13, to get you back onto the back straight through Bishop and then Le Mans and of course the Ultimate straight.
Yeah, the speed secrets here at Sebring seem to be usually the speed secrets card that turns itself at a great performance, but here it seems to be the exits, because a lot of these sharp turns are followed by the long straight, like the long back straight. Turn 17 followed by the long front straight, and then like you said, that tower corner, because Bishop's Bend, you should be full on the power unless you're in high power, and then it's hard on the brakes into 15 or 14 and 15 there. So it's a crazy track. Even though it's flat, this track has a lot of different personalities to it.
And the corner they're coming up to now, Mike Skeen, our TA2 champion yesterday, was telling me that this is the key corner for him anyway, because he feels that getting out of this corner that you're looking at right at the top of your screen gets you onto that Ullman straight, and you've got to get the drive out of here, and it can make a big difference to your lap time.
Yeah, sure can. So as they come down this back straight, we're so happy that you're joining us here on the SVRA and Trans Am apps. Thank you so much. Please tell all your friends, text everybody you know that they're missing out if they're not downloading and watching this thing. This is going to be a great race. I have to also mention my Group 1 friends that are out there. The Scott and Rick Frazier were first and second yesterday, and Rick Frazier, let's see if he can hold it from his son there. His son is in the Kermit the Frog Eye Sprite, but then Newcomer was actually the winner. He's in that number 63 red Austin Healey, and he won our fast cooling shirt yesterday.
Well, as you can see, the safety car peeling off now to allow these races to pass our commentary position. The green flag waves, and away they go for our first race in SVRA on the second day of the first meet of the year. It's Group 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5B, and away they go, and a great start by the little Lotus there at the front as they all jostle for position. Good start by the number 1, Travis Engen. Travis had a great run yesterday. Behind him, the all-yellow Rob Banks in the 21, and they'll be coming up to turn 3. The first possible overtake here. The first two are cleanly through, and is there an overtake, I wonder, for third maybe, or fourth at least?
Yeah, looks like Bowden was able to take John Nash. Bowden is in that open wheel Formula B, but watch for Travis Engen. Travis Engen just got out of his Audi R8 in our hour-and-a-half morning enduro.
So he's warmed
right
up
into that car. Yeah, so
that'll warm you up, won't it?
He knows where the track is slick and where it isn't. As Rambo Green locks up his brakes a little bit, Travis Engen takes it on the inside, and Bowden comes around the yellow car there of Rob Banks. Look for Bowden to try to get ahead of these two Lotus 23Bs.
Now, we talked about this yesterday, but let's bring it up again. Why the open wheeler in this particular category? Because everything else is pretty much sports car orientated.
Yeah, we only have 2 of the Group 2 open wheelers, and we don't like to say no to anybody. We'd like to have a lot more. If we had about 10 or 15, they'd have their own run group. But because there's just two, Rob Bowden and Duke Waldrop, we have them race in this group that the lap times are similar.
Well, it looks as though Rob Banks is trying to have a go at Bowden, and he does so. Nice overtake by Rob Banks. Wow, very good indeed. And there's John Nash, the man you mentioned before. He's likely to be pushing for a podium, but now Bowden coming back on Banks. So this is going to be a good battle throughout, I would have thought. And Bowden was pipping on the podium yesterday, but had to work his way through. You can see the airport in the background, still a working airport. We use the old runway, but as they dive through Bishop, you can really get an idea from the drone just how long and how tough this circuit is and how technical it is, even though it's very flat. Down the Almond Straight, very long indeed. Took him 4 minutes in a golf cart. Well, it'll take them about 10 seconds here, but Engen starting to open up his lead now here at Sebring. And still, Banks and Bowden going at each other. The 21 got ahead of him just a moment ago, and if these two keep playing the way they are, Nash is going to catch both of them.
Yeah, and there's that Devon D Porsche right there. Cliff Murray, great car. But one of the shots I just saw there, Travis Engen, look at how much higher his car sits. He's the red 23B than Randall Green, totally different setups. Travis Engen has a lot more experience on this track and knows how bumpy it is, so he's put his car up pretty high with GMT Racing. They set it up pretty high to take the corners. Randall Green has his low. We'll see whose setup has the advantage. We'll see Duke Waldrop go around turn 1.
High and above, and look at Engen go, but this battle for second is starting to heat up now because a lot of pressure from Bowden. Dropping off now is Banks in the all yellow. But the field nicely spread out, and just the second of 6 laps. And you haven't got a lot of time to sort yourself out. You don't want to make a mistake. I know it's SVRA, but you don't want to make a mistake, do you? Because there's really very few laps that you can come and bounce back on.
Yeah, this is a momentum track. You can't miss a turn here because momentum is everything. Because even though there are long straights, especially in this kind of more small bore class, you got to keep your momentum. Like we're seeing Vic Skurmans there. He's got that turn 7 so dialed in. He can run that thing so fast.
Yeah, beautiful. And just a reminder, don't forget to download and subscribe to our app. And we welcome our viewers across the internet, and we want you to download that app and join us for the full days of racing. And we are now going to the app, and it's going to be well, there's so much available to you: the live racing, timing and scoring, race replays, highlights, clips, and also everything's going on in the series news. And Ben, you play a big part of that when we're not racing. Lots of features and so on and so forth. So there's lots to see and do. It doesn't mean that you have to be on it all the time during the race weekend. There's plenty to do during the week to catch up, isn't there?
Yeah, we'll put a lot of highlights up there. Kind of like how we've been running our social media channels with Ashley and the clips that she's posting there. But if you're watching this on Facebook, remember, download the app because we're going to switch over to the app. But if you are watching, tell us where you're watching from and who you're rooting for in this race. As Rob Bowden looks like he takes second place, but Rob Banks is trying to duck under Randall Green there. I asked Rob yesterday at the podium all about that car, and he said, she is a fast machine. She keeps her motor clean, and he is out there running it right now.
Yeah. So we're spreading it out. I love this number 70. It's a beautiful looking Vic Skurmans, the man you mentioned before, that Porsche 356B. That is a babe. I absolutely love that. John Nash, he's been with SVRA forever, hasn't he?
No,
he's certainly done historic racing forever.
Yeah, he has done racing forever, but he and his wife Lorna came to our racing school about 3 years ago, and since then he's almost at every SVRA race, and we love having them in the paddock. His crew chief Jeff does a lot of great work, and he races 2 almost identical Lotus 7s as we look at Robert Allred for some reason in a yellow Lotus 7 out there, 007A, really fast driver. Great to see him out there. Travis Engen, though, looks like GMT got that set up right because he's taken off. See if Robert Bowden can take him as Rob Banks comes up on Randall Green. That's going to be the battle, I think, right there.
Got no change at the front because Travis is doing what he did yesterday pretty much and pulling away at the front as we take a little further back at some
Ford
of the
Haycock and
yep.
Anthony Hess. Anthony Hess, that's a beautiful MGB. And one thing I love about that, being an MGB guy, is he's running rear disc brakes. And then there's Ford Haycock in that beautiful Porsche 356. Like we were talking about Ford Haycock, the founder of SVRA. But here's the battle, and this is where Rob Banks gets this corner right. Let's see if he can duck under here.
Yeah, this is where he likes his overtakes, doesn't he?
Yeah, look at that.
Hell's bells, that was
Beautifully
good.
done. That was very good. Beautiful.
Very
Good
nice
stuff.
indeed. So good battle going on here. Here's one of your favorite cars, the little bug-eye.
Yeah, look at the smile. He's just having a blast. Driver, too. The car. Look at that smile on the car. And he is our recipient, winner of our first fast cooling shirt yesterday.
He did, yes.
Yeah.
We'll have another one of those draws later today, giving away some fast. Melissa Clay will be up here to give away some fast cooling shirts, so that's quite a prize. That's the closest I've had a look at one yesterday. Look at the lead he's got now, though. Bowden in a solid second, but Rob Banks now in third, starting to make his way up on Bowden and starting to look to see if he can get past. But he's dispensed with Randall Green.
That's a great shot of the different tarmacs, and you can see there that he's in the asphalt sealer where they patched it one time. So there are probably 6 different surfaces on this one track. We don't get that very much. You know, lots of times there's patches, but there's 3 distinct surfaces, but then there's different iterations of the asphalt where they've had to patch it.
Well, I was trying to challenge Mike Skeen to tell me what makes Sebring so special yesterday, as somebody who knows it so well. And he said basically it is the different types of asphalt down and concrete. And he said that just gives different grip levels, and it's really hard. He said you're setting up the car, you can't set it up for one certain, you know, like if you're at Coda, it's all very, very much the same. So it's easy to set up, whereas here, it's almost a nightmare. You've got to almost make a compromise. Compromising, nicely done. It looks like the 007A of Robert Alford just going through there, all red, going through there in his Super 7.
Jonathan, I want to say that Richard Culverhouse is watching from the UK.
Well, welcome aboard. High above the Sebring circuit. This is our first group races. We've got several different groups to show you this morning. And these guys get plenty of time on track. And once again, a bumper field for the 2021 season of SVRA.
Look for Vic Skurmans. This is a great battle here. Vic Skurmans, like I said, he thinks he has now started. I talked to him at the podium yesterday. In 855 races.
Has he really?
In his career. Yeah, that's not practice laps. That's green flag races. And here's that battle again. Porsche 356. This is what I love about vintage racing. There's an air-cooled rear engine Porsche versus a water-cooled front engine rear-wheel drive MGB.
Talk more about Ford Haycock, because you told me the story yesterday, but it's worth telling again because he is an institution almost.
Yeah, oh yeah, one of my heroes, and he's taught me so much about racing and vintage racing, but the founder of SVRA, and it started here at the 12 Hours of Sebring. He lived here and worked the business out of here, and I think they approached him and said, hey, how about doing like an opener with some of the old vintage race cars that you're connected with? And they had so much fun doing that they started this SVRA, which was originally the Southeast Vintage Racing Association. And then he thought, well, we want to do more tracks than just the Southeast, so they renamed it to Sports Car Vintage Racing Association. He founded Vintage Motorsports Magazine, and we love having him out here. Just a great person to have out on the track with us, and I really love his approach to vintage racing.
Penultimate lap, and Travis Engen has increased his lead now to over 8.7 seconds over Robert Bowden. Fastest lap by Engen at 2:27 compared to Bowden's 2:28. Rob Banks did a 2:26.7. He's going to be pleased with that. He is flying. He's a missile at the moment.
Yeah, and he is a local here, so I think he would consider this one of his home tracks. He's got many different great cars, but I really like that Royale RP. That's a fun car out there. That's a great shot of
Yeah, you can see how far the gap is that Travis has got. He's in a world of his own, isn't he? There's nobody near him, but he's pushing on. He's putting in some great lap times, but doing it very smoothly too, as we look high and above him and heading down that long straight, the Fangio straight as it's known, into turn 10, hard on the brakes and down to what? almost 50 miles an hour through there, then upping it again for a moment before dropping back down to about 45 and into the tower corner. Like I said, the exit out of here, very important.
Look at how low that car is. You can really see his hands working. And it's crazy to think that a driver like Travis Engen on a normal SVRA weekend, he could go from this car to a Formula B to a Group 9 Indy Lights car to the Audi R8. There it is.
John Nash doing a really good job. I love seeing it from up here because you really see the speed difference and differential between them, and you can see the slower cars getting out of the way, and that's a skill also in SVRA. And we talked about this yesterday. You know, who does SVRA? It's not, yes, vintage cars, but it's not a bunch of vintage racers. A lot of these guys are youngsters coming in for the first time. So if you're a sort of 18-year-old and you fancy, you can't afford necessarily to do formula racing or big sports car racing in IMSA, this is a great way to learn.
I think it's the best way, to be honest, because you have drivers like a Travis Engen or a Rob Banks who would love to take younger drivers under their wings, show them what they're doing. Nobody's trying to tear up their equipment. Everybody helps everybody. And the cars, in my opinion, are very difficult to drive because most of the cars that race with us don't have any kind of driver's aids. You have to set up the suspensions. And so if you can drive a difficult or a slow car fast, you can drive anything fast.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Look at this battle, Rob Banks and Bowden now. They're going wheel to wheel into turn one. Great shot there between these two. Bowden just squeaking through there.
That was a dirty deed done dirt cheap by Bowden.
Yeah, very nice. Very nicely done. And down the Ullman Straight come the back markers, or at least the midfield, I should say. But that was a nice move by Bowden on Banks. And Green still in, what, fourth position now? Through the Sunset Bend they come. And back and high over turn 4 and 5. That battle continues and Banks has got it back.
TNT, good stuff.
Yep.
Let's see if Bowden can take him here. Rob Banks has, it seems like he has this part of the track dialed in, especially tower corner. It's going to be tough for Bowden. Bowden might be able to get him on the Ullman, but then I think Rob might be able to get him back at 17. We might have a good finish here for overall second place.
Yeah, going to say, he got a podium to Banks yesterday, I think, and so he's gunning for that again. Yeah, he's definitely got his work cut out against Bowden, that's for sure. Here they are again. Very different cards, but competitive all the same.
Yeah, you can see Rob looking in his mirror, making sure he's not there. Great racer, lots of experience, Rob. It's really fun to watch, especially when these two cars never really get to race each other on the track.
Right.
You know, I'm not sure Rob's raced that Royale against a Formula B before, so he's not quite sure what it can and cannot do. And, you know, he's getting to watch this as well, but I think Rob's going to be able to take it. I'm not sure Bowden's going to be able to get the drag down the straight to be able to pass him.
Well, we'll soon find out. This is the final lap then of our first race of the day, Group 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5B. Here comes your leader trying to squeeze his way through some of the slower cars, or Travis Engen doing another commanding performance here. And he just feathers the throttle through the last Sunset Bend and comes onto the main straight, and he'll see that checkered flag, and there it is. And that's a country mile win once again. Travis Engen wins here in the feature race 2.
Look at this.
Oh, look at this,
Bowden.
side by side.
What's going to happen?
Oh, I'm not quite sure who took that. Well, that was awesome. Well, they're calling it for Bowden, and Banks taking third, but that was a great run to the line between the pair of them. So Banks did a good job there at the end to try to hold him off, but that was really a shoot to thrill, wasn't it?
Yeah, and even, that was. And knowing Rob Banks, he's going to love that. Even though he came in third, he just wants to race and wants somebody to be competitive, so he's going to get out of the car and high five. It's going to be all parties at the podium, and that's the spirit of vintage racing. You know, it's going to be a lot of fun. He did say he's going to repaint that car, so we might see him back in black in that beautiful Royale RP, but great racing.
Well, it's a long way to the top, but certainly Travis Engen did it in style. Got it all the way through and wins by what? Over 7 seconds there over Robert Bowden, who just pipped Rob Banks to the line, and now the rest of the field coming to the line too. Good friendship, good camaraderie. And I've got plenty of talking points now for these guys as they head back to the pits. There's Nick Scanmats. And a quick look at some of the highlights. Some good racing throughout this. But that's the man to watch. He didn't start in the lead, but he was in the lead by the time they came to the hairpin.
Well, a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to switch to the app, I believe. So make sure you download and subscribe to our app. So happy that you joined us on Facebook. Thank you for telling us all these great comments. And, keep them coming. Keep the comments coming. If you're watching, stay on this page and comment a little bit, and we'll take some of your advice. If you want us to cover a certain car, we'll do it. But thank you for joining us. Go to the App Store, Google Play, and download the SVRA or Trans Am app.
We're at Sebring all day today. The glorious, iconic Sebring circuit. The 12 hours just around the corner, but we're paying homage to what it has become here at Sebring with SVRA and Trans Am, where it all began for Trans Am as well. Travis Engin crossing the line in style, winning by over 7 seconds. What a finish for these two, Bowden and Banks.
Look at that. You see that Banks has big balls to be able to take over like that. Good stuff.
Excellent. Plenty more racing to come. And coming up next, another group race. That'll be Group 6 and 12A. So we take a breath as they will do the same. But good start to the day. Well done to Travis. Another good weekend for him. And confirmation of the result then. Travis Engin taking the Lotus 23B to a win by some 7.1 seconds over Robert Bowden, who just squeaked past Rob Banks to third. Randall Green on the podium yesterday, but he takes fourth. Duke Waldrop takes fifth place. John Nash, not as competitive today in that Lotus Super 7, but still up there. Robert Allred seventh. Cliff Murray eighth. Vic Skermans in ninth position, and Scott Fraser 10th. Further down, Rick Fraser, Anthony Hess, Ford Haycock, the man we were talking about in that Porsche 356B, and Greg Newcomer, Andrew McLean in 15th, the Scotsman.